Hi guys, today I'll show you how to use a bias binding to finish off a hemline on a garment that you might be making. So I've got the right side of my bias binding, this one's satin, and the right side of my material, the dress I'm making, and this is the raw edge that I need to finish, which is the bottom end of the dress. So I'm just gonna sew together both of the right sides on this pre-made fold, and I'll show you what to do after, once you've done that stitch line. So I've come to the end of the panel of where I'm going to finish my bias binding. So I'm just going to snip it off here. When I snipped off the bias binding, I kept like a centimetre extra at the end. So what I've done to that centimetre of bias binding is fold it inwards, and I'm just going to finish off sewing it to the edge of the side of the dress I'm making. So if you look here, this is what I've stitched onto my fabric, both right sides of the bias binding and the dress. And then what I do now is fold it over. For the entire hem, I can machine stitch it now or hand stitch it, whichever one is easier or you prefer. And once that's done, it's going to look beautiful, a very lovely finished edge or hem. This is now the finished hem. I've used blue thread because that's what I was using to make my garment, and I just continued using it, but you're welcome to match the colour if you like. Now I'm going to use the same bias binding material for doing the hemline on my neckline as well. So your neckline can be any shape. My one's round, it is a little bit easier to manage, but even if it was a V-neck, a square shape, or whatever, because the bias binding strip sort of stretches to the position that you want it to, it's very easy to stitch it onto the fabric. I've just come to the other end of the my stitch line, and what I've done is I've cut the bias binding already. I'm just going to go a couple of stitches over where I started stitching the bias binding. Okay, and just stop there. And what I'm going to do is lift up the foot and fold this again to give it a good finishing edge, and then stitch that on, and I'll show you what to do on the other side. So what you see here is my finished edge, and you'll see that they're both, where I started and where I finished the bias binding, is overlapping each other, and both of the other edges are folded in. So what I'm going to do is just hold it all together and fold it over like I showed you before, and on the other side you can either hand stitch or go over this with the machine. It's really up to you, but again, this will give it a very, very fine finished look at the end.